Okay, we're recording. There is a VIP option that's going to end after each training. And the VIP option is it's a meeting, so we can see you and hear you, and you can ask us questions, and we can offer some support and advice and coaching directly after each session. So that happens for the next 5 days. So the VIP power sessions, 2 p.m. Eastern. So they start in roughly an hour. And you can still sign up for those if you want to do that. Yes, every day, each day we're going to be doing, there's a lot of content here. We're going to get started in just a minute. There is a lot of content that we're going to take you through. The schedule, let me give you a little overview. Today, we're going to be talking about why willpower isn't enough. Tomorrow, why numbing and running will never work. Wednesday, the secret to getting free from alcohol for good. Thursday, how to have a sober life that doesn't suck. And Friday, how to fall in love with sobriety. Next Monday, so a week from now, will be a Q&A. So for those of you who have a lot of questions, this will trigger a lot of questions in you. Monday, we're just going to go through a lot of those questions and answer those. And then we will be also talking about our paid program. We do have a 5-month coaching program that's opening for enrollment soon. For those of you who want to take this to the next level and work with us directly like that. The VIP is for every day. So it's $47, 5 days for 5 days. And you get the transcript, and you get, Anne has done a beautiful ebook of journaling prompts. You also get that as well. So if you sign up for the VIP option, I'm going to take you through all the housekeeping and just somebody can't make the link to the VIP option work. Maybe try it in a different browser. No, this is not like an AA meeting. This is a masterclass. So this is a masterclass for people who are wondering or struggling with alcohol. I want to say it's mostly geared towards women, although gentlemen are very welcome to attend the free training. You'll find lots and lots in here that will be helpful to you. It's just obviously Anne and I are women, and that's kind of the background of our work and research. So it does kind of veer towards that a little bit. But by all means, it's very open for men as well to learn a lot. I mean, I don't think, the VIP, it's 5 days. So every day you get to, it's a small group. We can see and talk to each other. You can ask us questions. We'll support you, give some advice, all of that kind of stuff. So someone hasn't been able to join the Facebook group. The link doesn't go through. So Carrie will keep posting the links for the VIP group and the pop-up Facebook group. Okay, I'm going to get started, and I'm going to talk through, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping and that kind of stuff. So let me introduce myself first of all. Let's start there. So my name's Veronica Valley. Obviously, I'm British. I live in the United States. I live in the South. I live in Alabama. I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. I've written 3 books. The latest book, called Soberful, was out a couple of years ago now. It won awards. I'm a podcast co-host. I have a podcast called the Soberful Podcast with Chip Summers, who was my boss and mentor 20 years ago. In the UK, I was a accredited psychotherapist. I had accreditation with the British Association of Counselling and Psychotherapy, actually a couple of other organizations as well. And I worked in clinical settings. I've worked in rehab. I have started and run a private rehab, and I had a practice with private clients in Harley Street in London. When I moved to America, I became a sober coach because my work went online, and I had people all over the world. And I've done that ever since. I work all over the world with people, and I help women stop drinking. I'm qualified in a lot of modalities, neuro-linguistic programming, emotional freedom technique, and I also have my background in psychotherapy as well. So I have been sober continuously since May 2nd, 2000. So I'll be hopefully coming up to 24 years sober very soon. I got sober when I was 27. Anne, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Veronica. I'm Ann Dowsett-Johnston. I'm the author of the best-selling book, Drink, The Intimate Relationship Between Women and Alcohol, which was named one of the top 10 books of 2013 by the Washington Post. I also have a TEDx talk called Drinking and How It Changed My Life, which has more than 1.4 million views. I am a journalist, award-winning journalist who went back to school and became a psychotherapist, and I focus on women in alcohol, women in addiction issues, and trauma. I'm a trauma-informed therapist. I live in Canada, and my wonderful son and his wife and my gorgeous granddaughter, who's 2, live in LA, so I spend a lot of time in California as well.
Fantastic. And how long have you been sober, Anne, did you say?
15 years.
15 years, yeah. So we, as I said at the beginning, please feel free to check us out. Google our names. We have substantive backgrounds in this area. We are very well qualified and very well experienced. And the reason that I say that is you may have noticed in your search for sobriety and answers, there is a lot of sober services being offered online. And not everybody is qualified, has any, in fact, any qualifications or clinical experience or supervision, etc., etc. So just if you are exploring different services, just please make sure that you work with somebody who is qualified and experienced. And we just want to say that up front. No, you can get into VIP whenever you want. Okay, so we are going to create a safe space for you here. Over 6 days, to really, really, really do a deep dive into how to get free from alcohol. Now, I just want to say, if you are currently drinking and you are a daily drinker, please make sure you seek medical assistance to stop drinking safely. It can be quite dangerous and life-threatening to just stop cold turkey. So please make sure you speak to a doctor about that. We are going to get to the core of why you drink and the way you drink, why you drink the way you do, why your life is the way that it is, and how to change it. A lot of the stuff that we're covering today is work that we have done. We're going to teach you the work that we have personally done on ourselves, but also that we have worked with clients with for many, many years. So the next 5 days are very in-depth, life-changing, and revolutionary, and I don't use those words lightly. This is not something to do half-assed. If you are not giving this your full attention, it's because you're not prioritizing yourself and your well-being. And we can't help you if you don't make yourself a priority. So please make yourself a priority. Attend every day if you can live. If you can't, make sure you watch the recording. And give yourself time and space to take this in. There's a lot of information. You're probably going to want a pen and paper to make some notes. So this is serious content. It's a deep dive. We don't stay on the surface and we don't give hacks and easy fixes. We're going to give you the real deal and we're going to give you a lot of answers and solutions. What I want to know is, please put this in the chat. Why are you here today? What brought you to this point that you signed up for this? I'm just going to have a look in the chat. Yeah, Sherry's saying she's noticed. Yeah, there is a lot of people who get sober and see business opportunities. So just do due diligence. That's important. Okay. Amanda, weight gain, declining health. Kim, support. Make sure you put your drop-down menu to everyone, Kim. If you just, before you type your message in, just see the little blue button and change it to everyone. Otherwise, only Anne and I can see what you write. The link with trauma. I keep trying to quit on my own, but the longer I stay sober, the harder it gets. Oh yeah, Jennifer, wine is controlling me instead of the other way around. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you're all in the right place. So in order to get the most out of these free 6 days, commit to showing up for yourself, commit to being fully present. And we can promise you one thing. We will show you how to live a different life and how to love your sobriety. And we will mess up your drinking. Does that sound okay? Is that a good deal? If you want more, if you're like, oh, I really want some more of that, you can sign up for the VIP option, which is just an additional hour after the free training stops. It's in a meeting format. We can talk and see each other and all that kind of stuff. Okay, little bit of housekeeping. All of the replays will be sent out to you. So you will all get an email with the replay of each session. So if you do miss a day, they will get sent out and you'll have 10 days to watch them. So you have to watch them within 10 days, otherwise they get taken down. It's just a storage issue. There is prizes. So if you show up live, we're giving prizes away every day. We're going to give, like, I have some Soberful swag, t-shirts and hats, and we're going to give some signed copies of our book away. So every day there's going to be a homework question. And the homework question is going to be put in the Facebook group, the pop-up Facebook group. So this is how to win prizes, guys. You need to put your answer to the question in the thread that's on the Facebook page. It's the pop-up group, Freedom from Alcohol. Carrie has just popped that in the chat there. And then we randomly pick an answer. If you're not on Facebook, I'm really sorry. This is just logistically the best way for us to organize it. It's just complicated. Don't email me your answers. Just pop it in the Freedom from Alcohol Facebook group in the homework thread. The question will pop up, put it underneath, and then you get we randomly pick a winner and we'll tell you the winner tomorrow. Okay, so this whole 6 days is about learning and taking action. It's an invitation to self-awareness and growth. We want you to have incredible sobriety. And to do that, you can't stay where you are now. Does everyone agree, right? Things have got to change. You've got to grow beyond where you are now. So you are not here to stay away from a drink one day at a time. That's not what sobriety is about. You're not here to survive your life. We are here to live expansive, full lives and be the people that we are meant to be. Alcohol just makes our lives so much smaller. We believe that sobriety can be, we don't believe it, we know from experience that sobriety can be amazing, it can be expensive, it can be all of the things. And we're going to show you exactly how to do that over the next 6 days. I don't know why the VIP, try it in a different browser is what I can say. So Deb, this is private. Like what you put in the chat here can only be seen by us and the people attending. So yeah, nobody knows who you are. Okay, so let's get started. Today we're going to learn why women's drinking is different, how marketing works and is targeted particularly towards women, why we find it so hard to stop. We're going to learn about the fear of missing out keeps us stuck and why willpower isn't enough. So, Anne, over to you.
Thank you, Veronica. I want to talk about why women's drinking is different. And I think, luckily, we're beginning to know a lot more about the science and health aspects than we did, say, 12 years ago. Democratically, we are equal, yes, but on metabolical level and a hormonal level, we are not when it comes to alcohol. We are, and it's not just about height, it's about the fat content in our bodies and so on. We just, unfortunately, telescoping is real. And telescoping means that we become addicted to alcohol much faster than men do. It's just a fact. We both get, men and women, develop strokes from drinking, but we do 4 times faster. Then the percentage of breast cancer cases related to alcohol is alarming, and the percentage of women who understand that, very low. So it's something to take into account. We also drink differently than men. Men tend to, when they start drinking in a risky way, hang out maybe at a different bar, a sports bar, and make new friends in perhaps a less than savory way. We hide. We ritualize our drinking. We tend to isolate alone, say in the kitchen or in our bedroom with a bottle of wine. We might go to the book club and drink what everybody else drinks, but women tend to isolate. And I remember this I went to a pretty fancy rehab outside of Boston. And I remember a really beautiful woman telling me that she would sneak her wine into her bedroom and slide it between the wall and the bed. And of course, got sober and found way more than she wanted to have found. So there's the ritualization, there's the isolation, which is scary, especially as women age. But I think the largest thing I said in my book was alcohol is the modern woman's steroid and enabling her to do the heavy lifting in a complex world. What do I mean by that? I mean that women still carry a huge amount of the emotional baggage in families. So go toe to toe in the workplace. We outpace young men in colleges and universities. But when you really think about it, women do 4 shifts each day. Shift 1, they go to work. Shift 2, they produce a meal at the end of the day and do domestic chores. Shift 3, oversee homework, put children to bed, etc., etc. And shift 4 is going back to work to keep your career going. So I really want to ask who here feels like they used wine as the modern woman's steroid to survive the day or to reward themselves at the end of the day. I have a friend who is 1 year sober and said, I use wine to relax fast. You know, she's got a big job in a bank, very big job. And at 9:15 at night, she wanted to just relax in a hurry.
And you know what? We use that word, but it's not relaxing, is it? It's switching off.
Yes.
Like she's doing it to switch off her brain and not think and have to deal with things. What we're doing is we're disconnecting. It's not relaxing, it's disconnecting. Yeah, loads of people are saying they do that.
Yeah. Look at this.
Yeah.
100%. Started off at a glass, then a bottle, then wouldn't do it and needed 2 and then 3. Oh my goodness.
Rum and Coke's here every day until January 1st to wind down. Yeah. The end of the day reward is such a common one. Right. And it's to survive all those things you just described, right? We deserve it for surviving all of the plates we have to spin.
Yeah, and I think deserve is an important word. There is a sense that you deserve it.
Yeah.
Combat isolation as a caretaker. Yes.
Yeah. Calm transition and make it easier to deal with screaming, fighting kids. Yeah. He starts off as a glass and then a bottle and then 2 or 3. Yeah. Who has seen their intake increase? Like who did start off with like a glass and then it's 2 and then it's bottle? Who's seen their intake increase over the last few years? I think COVID accelerated this for a lot of people.
Yeah, they call it the epidemic and the pandemic. And it was a huge story, women's drinking starting to outpace men. So it's historically has just not been the case.
Yeah. Yeah. Wine is my friend. Yeah. Took off like a rocket.
And it's interesting because not only did women catch up to men, but which is sad, but they young women were presenting in emergency rooms at far bigger numbers than young men for alcohol use. And so, yeah, moms deserve wine. I hate the hangover and the tiredness.
Yeah.
Ditto.
Don't even get me started on the whole mummy needs wine culture that has risen up in the last few years. It's such a disservice to mothers. And I don't see any equivalent for men, right? There's no daddy needs beer. It's all mummy. It's all like, it's really hard. Ha ha ha. Here, numb yourself with a carcinogen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hate the hangover and tiredness. Okay, let's carry on.
So, a really fascinating story is how the marketing situation unfolded. So in the 1990s, the all the Johnny Walker drinkers were dying out, and all the people in big alcohol, many of whom had migrated from big tobacco, looked at that playbook and said, hey, how can we catch up? And they invented, and it was an experiment, the Alcopop, that sweet, fizzy, prepackaged drink like Mike's Hard Lemonade for young girls. Call it chick beer, call it cocktail with training wheels. And it was an experiment, and it was a huge success. Smirnoff's profits went up 66% in 1 year with Smirnoff's Ice, and those young women grew up and became educated and went to university and became professional women and became mothers. And there you have the whole pinking of the alcohol market. You have the mummy juice. You have a whole generation heavily pitched to, now more than a generation, swimming in the ocean of advertising. This was the way to relax, reward, and celebrate. And now what's really interesting is that the more professional, the more accomplished the woman, the more you are vulnerable. It's part of that professional life. Think of lawyers and the legal. There's been a lot of really interesting research done on the legal profession and the amount of alcohol consumed. And 5 people go out for drinks after work, and no one has the guts to say, well, I'll have another round except her. The notion is you should be able to handle it. You're going to go toe to toe with men in the workplace, and you should be able to keep up with them. And so that is not a pretty picture. That is not a pretty picture at all, but that is a reality. That is a reality.
Yeah. So many of us are using alcohol for all of the wrong reasons, aren't we?
For all of the wrong reasons. And it's a decompression tool.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of speaking to at campuses across North America and tried to talk about the marketing, and really got pushback from young women saying, you had your turn, it's our turn.
Really?
Yeah. And it was fascinating because it used to be that it was the frat boy experience, that the frat boys would go out and play drinking games, and now it's men and women, young men and women. The only difference is he eats before he goes out and he drinks beer. She's 2/3 his size, probably didn't eat, saved her calories for drinking, and she's doing shots because of the calories again. So really dangerous situation.
A few people are saying about this is so true. In the 90s, drinking alcohol, not just drinking alcohol, but actually being really drunk was marketed as feminist.
Right.
And it was marketed as, you know, like we can, you know, the boys can go out and get completely drunk and make fools of themselves. Well, girls can do that too. I was definitely part of that. That was really a big thing in the 90s in the UK.
Right.
And that was, you know, we were just it was feminism. It was and this is what marketing does, right? And you said, did you say this about then they became mothers, and then the whole mommy needs wine
Yes.
is marketed at them.
Yeah. Equal opportunity stupidity.
Stupidity. Yeah. Yeah. In India, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name correctly. It's a cultural thing here in Scotland. Not drinking is met with derision. It's hard to say no when everyone else is doing it, seemingly without a problem, although I suspect many of them do have alcohol issues. Here's the thing to know, guys. You are not the only person questioning their drinking from the people that you know. So does everybody here know other people who drink? I'm going to tell you, half of those people are also questioning their relationship with alcohol. You are not the only one. Lots of people are questioning their relationship with alcohol. And I'm going to talk a bit more about this. But people spend up to 10 years before the first time they kind of wake up and think, oh, maybe there's something wrong with my drinking, to actually stopping for good, because we just can't envisage our life without it. It's exactly like the UK. Like, I got sober in the year 2000 and I was 27. So I was in my 20s. Can you imagine how people looked at me, how my peer group looked at me? Like I had two heads. Like I volunteer to never have fun again for the rest of my life. That's how people looked at me. Like, it was just completely inconceivable. Now, Gen Z is different. Gen Z isn't drinking as much, but I do suspect that they're still getting a buzz somehow. But
Yeah.
yeah, anyone who's a boomer or Gen X, like, excessive drinking was just pushed on us in so many different ways.
And it's the only drug that you have to explain why you're not using it. I think that is profound.
Mm.
And we don't
Yeah.
tend to think of it as a drug. And, I will say one more thing, that there are more deaths related to alcohol than illicit drugs in North America every year. And that's counterintuitive.
Mm. Yes. We're just looking at some of your messages. Yeah. Anything else, Anne? Did we?
Well, I think it is that we swim in the advertising, that it's a wallpaper. I have people say to me, well, I'm not really pitched to that hard in terms of alcohol. And I think of television, back to Sex and the City and the Cosmos, and think of movies. And yes, you are. You just don't notice it. It's everywhere.
Yeah, I think whatever sort of one of the things that we have to let go of when we become sober is this sort of image as a drinker. And I think it does, you know, depending on where you are in life, there's always marketing that matches that. You know, as you get older, it's like, well, you have more money maybe, and it's like fine wine and fine whiskey and all of that kind of stuff. And you know, there's just every TV show, you know, there's a middle-aged woman and she's got a high pressure job, and she comes home at the end of the day and she pours herself a glass of red wine in a really big, beautiful glass in a beautiful, immaculate kitchen, by the way. I don't know who's cleaning that. And you know, and that's a kind of like, oh, it's been such a tough day. And like in our heads, right, I'm like her, but we're not. That wasn't the reality for us. I talk about this in my book. There's a show on Netflix called Dead to Me, and it's really good. And I think it was the second season. There was the main character played by Christina Applegate. She's drinking, you know, she has a beautiful house and she has a beautiful bedroom and she has a beautiful glass of wine. And the clock on her bedside shows like it's 1:45, and like her best friend comes over, and they're both in the bed together, and they're both drinking wine. And then the next scene is the next morning, and she's making breakfast for her kids before they go to school. Okay, so she was in bed at 1:45, and then her friend came over, so they didn't get to sleep till 1:30, 2 maybe. The next morning they're making kids breakfast. School starts really early in America, so that had to have been 6 a.m. So that's about 4 or 5 hours later. Of course, the character looks beautiful. Her hair is blown out, her makeup is done. So that's like at least an hour's work there. So she had to be up at 4:35, looking beautiful, making, right? That's not reality. Who's done that? Like, who can get up after 3 or 4 hours sleep after drinking red wine? That mom is throwing up in the toilet. That mom is like got half her makeup smeared on her face and is throwing a Pop-Tart at her kids, right? So we get these images and we think we're going to be like that. It'll be like that for me, and it's not. Can everybody see how their reality is so far away from what's actually happening and the images in their head? Bottomless brunches. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, we did actually, Chip and I did an episode on this called high-end drinking. It was maybe in last October we did one, which is all about like the high end, like going to Scotland on whiskey tours and only drinking fine wine from Napa. Like yeah, high end drinking is just it's just more expensive ethanol, really. That's all it is. But it's definitely one of the ways that people try and kid themselves that they don't have a problem, because they only drink specific, very expensive, and they're cultured and they do wine pairing. It's always about the alcohol. It's always about the alcohol. Okay. I'm going to talk about why we find it so hard to stop, and the perception versus the reality of our drinking. We perceive that alcohol is a benefit. That's why we drink. That's what we're talking about here. We are perceiving that alcohol adds to our life. It makes whatever the event is better. That I believe that 100%. Who else believes that? That alcohol makes, like, whatever it is, alcohol will improve it. So I want to tell you, first of all, this is really important. You may want to write it down. Getting sober is really two things. It's a shift in perception, and we get the shift in perception by doing certain things consistently. The two important words there are perception and consistency. You will hear me say this a lot. All sobriety is a shift in perception. We just see everything differently because we have a very entrenched idea of what alcohol means. So I grew up in the 80s in the UK. I know we have people all around the world here, although I think our drinking cultures are fairly similar. It was just assumed in my culture that I'm going to drink alcohol, right? It was just assumed. It was assumed I'll get a job. It was assumed I'll probably get a car or at least a driver's license. It was assumed I'll drink alcohol, right? Unless you come from a very specific background, religion or culturally, not drinking alcohol was never presented as an option. Who else had the same experience? So we are sold an idea about alcohol. We are sold that, and this is done through marketing in the way that Anne has explained. It's definitely sold to us through our peer groups and our culture, that alcohol is the best way to have fun, excitement, belonging, connection, to relax and to reward yourself. So if you drink, you get these things, right? Who else grew up with that belief? If you drink, you'll get all these things. Who doesn't want to have those things? Who doesn't want to have those things, right? I want to have those things. Those things look amazing. Like, I don't want to miss out on those things. So it was sold to me that alcohol was the best way to get those things. Like, it was just the best way to get those things. And so we just try really, really hard to make alcohol work. Who here has felt that they have just been trying for a long time to get alcohol to work? So the biggest enemy to stopping drinking is this fear of missing out. Because once that belief is established, right? Once you believe that alcohol is the best way to get all of these things that everybody wants, then when you get to the point where you are questioning your relationship with alcohol and beginning to even consider that maybe you should stop drinking, it's going to feel quite devastating, because what you feel is that you're going to have to give up all of those things: fear, fun, excitement, belonging, connection, relaxing, rewarding yourself, that you're going to have to give up all of that. And that feels devastating. Who has felt like that? The really, really good news is that you don't have to give up anything. In fact, you can get to the land of fun, excitement, belonging, connection, relaxing, and rewarding yourself sober, and it's better. But I didn't know that at the time. So when I was 27, I stopped drinking at 27. The only reason I stopped is because I had really, really bad anxiety and panic attacks, and my life was ruled by them. They started when I was 18 from drugs, and it changed my relationship with alcohol because the anxiety was so bad. I used alcohol to cope. Very quickly, I realized that a drink or two, I could cope with social situations. I could, drink or two at lunchtime. I could get through the rest of the day. Who here has suffered from anxiety and used alcohol to cope? It's the worst experience. Mine was so bad. It's awful. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Did you have anxiety, Anne?
I had huge depression and anxiety.
Yeah. And alcohol's going to do that. That's just science. Alcohol's going to make you depressed. It's essential.
Terrible. Depression.
So I was drinking to cope with, using it to try and cope with my anxiety. And of course, it makes everything worse. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. And I eventually came to the realization that if I wanted my anxiety to stop, and I would have done anything at that point, I needed to stop drinking. Now, I wasn't happy about the stopping drinking because I believed I was going to miss out on everything. But I took the deal because I was so desperate to not feel the way that I was feeling. I wanted peace more than anything. I just wanted it to stop, and I just wanted to be able to get through and have a very small life and have a job and have a flat and just get through life without the enormous amount of fear that I dealt with every single day. So I took the deal. I wasn't happy that I was never going to have fun again. I was never going to be included again. I was never going to dance again. Certainly never going to flirt again. That I'd probably spend my whole life sitting in the corner and it would be very gray and boring. I accepted that deal. And I want to tell you, I genuinely believe that. I was completely wrong. That was a perception. This is what I want you guys to understand. It was a perception. It wasn't truth, and it wasn't reality. I was about a year or two into my sobriety when I looked around at my peer group. Again, we were in our 20s, and I realized I was having more fun than they were, and everything changed. So I want you to know that this is the biggest thing that needs to change. It's our perception. One of the things actually we're going to do in the 5-month coaching program that we're enrolling for is we do a cost benefit analysis. Like, we look at the cost of your drinking compared to the perceived benefits. And it's a real eye-opener. It's a real eye-opener, because we have also been conditioned to ignore the cost. I was 15 years old when I was in a pub in England, and I went into blackout. Obviously, I was not meant to be in there. I was too young. And I woke up outside the pub in the gutter, covered in my own vomit, with the landlord throwing a bucket of water over me. And I remember at the time thinking, there's something wrong with this. This isn't right. And the next day, all my friends said, "Oh, Veronica, you're so wild. Like, we had so much fun. Like, you are the most fun." And my brain went, oh, that, getting so drunk that you pass out and lie in the gutters covered in your own vomit is fun, because everyone's telling me it is. Everyone's telling me that. And so I didn't know there was another, I didn't know there was an alternative. I didn't know there was an alternative. So that one of the biggest obstacles to stopping drinking is this fear of missing out. But I want you guys to know that that is a perception, not a reality. And we will talk through in a bit more detail how to change that, how to shift your perception. Who believes that now? Who still believes like if they stop drinking, they will be missing out on fun and relaxing and all that kind of stuff? Yet what's interesting is no one shows up in front of us by accident, guys. People who don't have a problem with alcohol, people who don't have a cost, they don't come to things like this. I know that you are here because some of the consequences are bloody awful. Am I right? Because if it was true, if alcohol was fun, why would you be here? Why would you think about stopping doing something that was fun? One of the things about having an alcohol problem is it takes up a lot of bandwidth. So bandwidth is the energy that we have and the space to think thoughts. And when you are, and the bandwidth we have is finite, right? We only have a certain amount of it. If you are spending your bandwidth thinking about drinking, thinking about not drinking, drinking, and recovering from drinking, you could spend 20, 30, 40, 50% of your available bandwidth for that day obsessing about something that is just shouldn't have that much power over you. And how much bandwidth do you think you spent on a daily basis on alcohol?
If my brain was a pie chart, I was focusing on it all day long. I had so many day ones where I was trying to quit. And then June 15th happened in 2007. I woke up, my phone rang. It was Father's Day, and my favorite cousin had been killed by a driver under the influence. And I sat on my condo floor, devastated, thinking, I lost my childhood to alcohol, my mother. I lost Doug, my cousin, and now I'm losing myself to alcohol. And that was the turning point for me. But up until then, I just kept doing that bargaining of no brown liquids, only on weekends, all the things we do to try and quit. And it was perplexing, and bandwidth was everything.
So guys, that's a cost. That's a cost to drinking, right? So here's the thing. We're not, at the beginning of our drinking, it was fun. There was some fun times at the beginning of my drinking. At the end, there was not many fun times. And I wasn't aware of what it was costing me. I wasn't aware that I was sacrificing so much bandwidth to a substance, right? That is a cost. We only have a finite amount of bandwidth. Imagine what you could be doing with that instead. Because none of you came here to argue with yourself about whether you're going to have a drink tonight or not. That is not your purpose, people.
No.
But we get lost in it. We get lost in it. We lose ourselves. So here's the good news. When we get sober, we get our bandwidth back. And this bit's really important. You get your bandwidth back. Imagine what you could do with that. Like imagine like what would be possible for you in your life if you had full access to your bandwidth, that you weren't sacrificing so much of it to alcohol. One thing that happens is when you get your bandwidth back, you get to grow emotionally into the people that you were meant to be. Now, here's the thing, because we talked about this at the beginning and talked about it. You can sacrifice 30, 40, 50% of your bandwidth and still on the outside look very successful. Anne was. You can have a high-powered job, you can make lots of money, you can have a nice car, you can go on nice vacations. So on the outside, it looks like everything is okay. But what you can't do when you're sacrificing your bandwidth is you can't grow emotionally. You're just stuck. You're not growing. And as human beings, we are called to grow. So when you are stuck in that way and you're not growing emotionally, you're missing out on one of the most important experiences of being human. So when you get sober, you get to grow emotionally. And I want to tell you, that's an experience that you shouldn't miss, because that is where your extraordinariness is. I think if someone had shown me when I was 6 months sober what my life was going to be like at 23 and a half years sober, I probably would have passed out. Like this is way beyond anything I could have imagined for myself. I grew into this. Anne, was it the same for you?
Absolutely. I had spent a large part of my career as a journalist editing. I ended up writing my book Drink, which was a big book, still is. I have a saying, which is, keep drinking and nothing is possible. Put down the glass and learn that the universe has a better imagination than you do. In fact, all things are possible. And that's my experience.
Yeah, Kate said here, I will miss the fun times though. Kate, you know what my answer is to that? You can drink, go ahead. As long as you're prepared to pay the cost of your drinking, which will never go away and will only increase as you age, crack on. I know for me, I got to the point where the cost outweighed everything. And this is really, really important. Please don't believe that when you get sober, you don't have fun. One of the biggest revelations of getting sober, and I've been sober in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, and I'm now in my 50s. I've done everything sober. I have done clubbing, concerts, weddings, travel, all of it, done all of it. Parties, everything. It's all better sober. If this wasn't fun, I'd have been drunk 22 years ago. So that's the perception. It's the perception that I will no longer have fun if I don't have alcohol in my life. It's not true. It's not true. So stopping drinking is not enough. We've all been able to stop drinking. It's staying stopped that's the problem. Who here has stopped for a day, a week, a month, a year, whatever? Stopping is not the problem. It's staying stopped. And the reason that we can't stay, and you may want to write this down, guys, the reason that we can't stay stopped is we're not emotionally sober. And we're going to be talking about emotional sobriety and how to get emotionally sober over the next few days. Often people use things like dry January. Who's done some dry Januaries? Who's doing one currently? To prove to ourselves that we don't have a problem. Look, I stopped for 31 days. It was fine. I can, drink the rest of the time. So we're trying to prove to ourselves that we don't have a problem because we can stop. It's not stopping, it's staying stopped. But one of the most common things I see when people are trying to get sober is they use intensity over consistency. We set the goal of being sober and we just go all in, every podcast, we read all the books, we do all the things. And we're just doing it's intensity, and we're using willpower. Willpower doesn't work because it's a muscle and the muscle gets fatigued. I hear people say this all the time in my Facebook group. I'm going to try really, really hard this time. I'm just stay strong. I'm just going to stay strong. I wish I was stronger. None of those things, they make no difference. They do not help you get sober or stay sober. They are not the deciding factors. That's intensity over consistency. And I want to tell you why. We drink because of how we feel. Anne said at the beginning, we're juggling all these things, these 4 shifts that women are doing. And eventually we get burned out and we have nothing in the tank and we need something. And our brain goes, I don't like how I feel. How do we fix this? What's the quickest way I can fix how I feel? And it goes to alcohol. If we don't have the inner resources or coping skills to deal with the ups and downs of life, we will always look for outside fixes to inside problems. And that's why willpower is useless, because you are going to experience some difficult or uncomfortable feelings, and the need to escape from them will always be stronger than willpower. Is that making sense to everybody? You're going to have a bad day. Somebody's going to say something. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to be depleted. And it doesn't matter the promises you made to yourself and everybody else on the Holy Bible 3 weeks ago that you're never going to drink again. It doesn't matter, because those feelings will override everything, because we have outsourced managing our feelings to alcohol. So when we stop drinking, we have all these feelings that we don't know how to deal with. And that's why getting sober is 10% not drinking and 90% emotional sobriety. So we're going to be talking a lot about emotional sobriety for the rest of the week. We're going to be taking a deep dive into that. Has anyone heard that expression before, emotional sobriety? Yeah, if you've heard my stuff, you will have heard me talk about it. It's my thing. So we want to go, what Anne and I do, the work that we do together with our clients, is we go underneath to get to the root cause. That's why tips and tricks to staying away from alcohol, they don't work. They'll work sometimes in the short term, but they don't work long time. We've got to get to the root causes, and it's an inside job. To get sober, we need to change our belief system. This isn't about drinking, it's about thinking and feelings. And that's why women work with us. We have a couple of minutes before we're going to wrap it up and jump over to the VIP. If you'd like to join the VIP, Carrie will put the link in again. If you're not having any joy, try it in a different browser sometimes. I find sometimes that happens to me in Safari, but if I open it in Google Chrome, so if you're able to open it in a different thing, it will sometimes works. So in the VIP sessions, we're going to get to drill down deeper into this. So we are going to be talking a lot about the root causes behind your drinking over the next few days. And anything to add before we wrap things up?
Well, I just love the sense that if it wasn't fun, you wouldn't do it. That there's huge possibility, and life just accordions out. When I hit my bottom, I was vice principal of McGill University, fancy job, fancy clothes, and just about I was menopausal and in a depression and just about as unhappy as a person could be. And I look back and feel my heart breaks for that person, because I really did. I drank the Kool-Aid. I really believed that this was sophisticated and the path to fun. And in fact, it was everything but. And so emotional sobriety, I think, is worth a deep dive. What does it mean? How does one get it? And it's a joy.
Yeah, we're not missing out. Like I know we know lots of sober people. We're not sitting here missing out. We're not like kind of gray and boring. And I think it's such a wonderful breakthrough when you realize that you are having more fun than the people are drinking. I'll be honest, I sometimes look, we have a timeshare that we go to in Cancun that's all inclusive. We go at New Year's. And I just think, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to do that. I'm so glad that I know that I don't need to drink in the pool or on New Year's Eve or whenever in order to have a better time. Like I'm really glad I know those things. It's just that's the perception and the belief system. Okay, I'm going to give you guys the homework question. This is going to pop up in the Facebook group. Again, Carrie will post that for those of you who are not members. Put your answer in the thread. Put it underneath the question. Don't put it anywhere else. Don't email me, don't message me, and don't do your own post. Just put it there. We will pick a random winner and you'll get a prize of some sort that we'll send to you. And we'll do the same thing every day. Tomorrow, we are going to talk about why numbing and running is not a way to live. Numbing and running will never work. We'll talk a little bit more about how, if you have a problem with alcohol, what's underneath an alcohol problem, all of that kind of stuff. Wednesday, we're going to start talking about emotional sobriety. what is entailed in all of that. How was this today, guys? Are you guys going to come back tomorrow? How did you enjoy yourself? Homework question. What do you believe you will be giving up if you stop drinking? That's the homework question. And that will be in the Facebook group. Thank you so much. We look forward to, guys, the VIP. I know it, like we have a bunch of people signed up, so I don't know why it's not working. We've tested it. Carrie just tested it 3 times. It's got to be a different browser. Sometimes closing your computer down and starting again will work. I'm sorry. Like tech is always like a pain in the butt. Same time, same place next week. VIP starts in 5 minutes, so we will join you there. Thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. All right, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.